Putin has a big problem. But this problem is not Ukraine as you might expect. This problem comes from a region often overlooked but harboring Russia's fault lines. From the heart of the Caucasus comes Chechnya. Chechnya was never an ordinary region for Putin. This place was always critical for him. He built his career here, created his strongman image here, and kept Russia's most troubled region under control through a warlord he placed here. That warlord is Ramzan Kadyrov, Putin's most strategic partner in the Caucasus, the regime's puppet, and the man who has ruled Chechnya with an iron fist for 22 years. But the theater of invincibility and loyalty the Kremlin carefully constructed is now collapsing from within. Intelligence reports leaking from the Caucasus and the extraordinary commotion on the ground tell us one thing. Ramzan Kadyrov is seriously ill. According to many sources, he's battling a fatal disease. What confirms these claims are Kadyrov's own moves. A very rapid succession plan is currently underway in Chechnya. If Kadyrov goes, the vacuum he leaves behind could shake not just Chechnya, but all of Russia. To understand why this vacuum is so dangerous, you need to look at how Kadyrov came to power. The story begins with a father-son drama. Russia fought 2 wars in Chechnya. The war between 1994 and 1996 ended with a humiliating defeat for Russia. Chechnya effectively became independent, and this failure shook Boris Yeltsin's authority. For Putin, who sat in the prime minister's chair in 1999, Chechnya was as much an opportunity as a threat. He launched the Second Chechen War using uncompromising language against Chechen militants and won Russian public opinion support. He built his strongman image here while still an unknown politician. Putin's presidential career began in Chechnya, but he couldn't win the war alone. Akhmat had fought alongside Chechens against Russians in the First War, but switched sides in the Second. He knew his former comrades in arms, knew their strategies, and could gauge whom to persuade and whom to purge. With this inside knowledge, he pulled many Chechen commanders to his side, sidelined rivals, and won the war. Russia couldn't win alone. In return, the Kadyrov clan was granted extraordinary privileges, near total autonomy in internal affairs, billions of rubles in annual budget support, and personal security guarantees. But in 2004, Akhmat lost his life in an assassination, and his son Ramzan was brought to power with Putin's full support. Ramzan inherited the system his father left, but governed it far more ruthlessly, crushing rival clans, purging opponents, and building a 22-year reign of terror. Hundreds of thousands of Chechens fled the country to escape the repression, forming a massive diaspora. Putin turned a blind eye to all of this because Kadyrov was the only person keeping Chechnya under control, and in return, he offered Akhmat forces fighting in Ukraine. This dependency is now turning into Putin's greatest weakness because the man he depends on may be dying. Kadyrov is 49 years old, a relatively young leader, but claims about his health had been accumulating for years and reached alarm level in late 2025 and early 2026. Independent sources speak of a pancreatic necrosis diagnosis since 2019. In late December 2025, the situation became critical. Kadyrov was rushed to a hospital in Moscow, reportedly receiving dialysis for kidney failure. And the most striking detail, his family was summoned to gather. In Chechen culture, the family being called together is not an ordinary visit. It's preparation for farewell, and the clearest indicator that a power transition is approaching. Though Kadyrov denies the claims, a recurring pattern has formed. He disappears from public view for weeks, then returns by posting fitness videos on social media, then disappears again. A leader who is truly healthy doesn't need to try this hard to prove it. Moreover, Kadyrov isn't just trying to appear healthy. He's also preparing succession. In a place like Chechnya, where blood feuds dominate, this is a very risky move. Designating an heir signals to rivals, "I'm weakening." Throughout history, leaders in unstable regions avoided naming successors until they were on their deathbed for precisely this reason, because announcing an heir could mean planting the seeds of future conflicts. If Kadyrov took this risk, it says a lot about the situation's severity. The most notable move is his son's elevation, and the speed of these promotions is unusual. Kadyrov has 12 biological children, and at least 3 have been pushed onto the political stage. Third son Adam is only 18, but already heads the Presidential Security Service. Adam entered public awareness at 15 with a controversial incident, and his father publicly defended him, awarding him the Hero of the Chechen Republic title and 6 medals. Eldest son Akhmat is 20 and deputy prime minister, but Novaya Gazeta highlighted his limited charisma and weak speaking ability. None of the sons meet the 30-year age requirement for the presidency. This legal gap makes dynastic transition directly impossible. That's why Kadyrov is placing regent candidates alongside the sons. And these candidates' stories lay bare Chechnya's dark nature. The first candidate is Adam Delimkanov, the man Kadyrov called closer than my brother and identified as his preferred successor in 2009. Delimkanov is a Duma MP, but his real power lies in his networks outside Chechnya. He controls the Chechen diaspora in the UAE, Turkey, Jordan, and Europe. The second candidate is Magom Dodov, nicknamed Lord. Dodov was fighting on the separatist side in the Second Chechen War when he was captured by Kadyrov's men and switched sides. Now he's responsible for Chechnya's internal repression mechanism and was appointed prime minister in 2024. Under the constitution, if Kadyrov dies, authority automatically passes to him. Kadyrov is also building his security network through marriages. Adam Kadyrov married Delimkanov's granddaughter or daughter in summer 2025. Putin personally sent a congratulatory message. But after this strategic marriage, Adam was involved in a high-speed traffic accident in Grozny in January 2026, was seriously injured, and was transported to Moscow by air ambulance. Behind all these political preparations stands military power. Kadyrov's Akhmat personal army is estimated at between 18,000 and 25,000 fighters. This force serves both as internal control in Chechnya and a loyalty tool for Putin in Ukraine. However, according to independent sources, Kadyrov is secretly conducting family security negotiations with Middle Eastern monarchies behind the Kremlin's back. And this information is also claimed to have cooled his relationship with Putin. If Kadyrov is simultaneously seeking assurances from the Kremlin, his own clan, and foreign states, this shows how fragile the picture is. The most critical question is about military control rather than political succession. When Kadyrov dies, whom will approximately 25,000 soldiers obey? Akhmat forces are technically attached to the Russian National Guard, but in practice, they're Kadyrov's personal army. A multi-layered structure includes Oman Akhmat Grozny Special Units, the 249th and 141st Battalions of the 46th Brigade, SOBR Akhmat Elite Forces, and the 78th Motorized Rifle Regiment established in 2022. These forces handle everything from protecting Chechnya's oil fields to securing the village where Kadyrov was born. And they're actively fighting in Ukraine. They earned the TikTok Warriors nickname with propaganda videos shot behind the front. But some are also used in real combat missions. With Kadyrov's death, these forces' chain of command could unravel. Whom will they stay loyal to? His sons, Dodov, Delimkanov, or someone the Kremlin appoints? And these forces' loyalty is already being questioned. Ukrainian intelligence managed to infiltrate Akhmat units in early 2026. In the Shamanbat operation conducted on the Sumy front between February and April, Ukrainian special forces worked in coordination with Free Ichkeria fighters and an agent planted inside the Akhmat unit. The agent installed a listening device via an FPV drone in the meeting room. Akhmat forces suffered their heaviest casualties since the start of the war. Shamanbat commander Abdul Hakim called out to Chechen soldiers, "What did Ukrainians do to you? Come to our side." This operation shows not just military success, but that Akhmat forces can be infiltrated from within, and loyalty is not absolute. What happened in Mariupol is also proof of this loyalty crisis. Akhmat units engaged in direct combat with Russian regular forces during the city's siege. They turned weapons on forces who were supposed to be allies. Their role in Ukraine is not just combat. According to some reports, Kadyrov's units were used as barrier troops at the front to stop Russian soldiers who were fleeing or retreating. This role made them an unpopular force among Russian soldiers too. Kadyrov's death could detonate these already tense relationships, and the question of who will control 25,000 soldiers directly affects not just Chechnya, but the Ukrainian front as well. The Kremlin is preparing for this crisis, but the preparation itself is also fraught with problems. According to independent sources, there is no consensus in the Kremlin about Kadyrov's successor. The FSB supports its own candidate. The presidential administration prefers a different name, and the Kadyrov family is trying to impose its own plan. Kadyrov's death will trigger two processes simultaneously: a power balance shift at the federal level and a clan struggle at the republic level. According to Kiev Post's analysis, Kadyrov's absence will weaken Rosgvardia commander Zolotov's camp while giving the FSB the opportunity to bring Russia's last autonomous paramilitary enclave under control. The Kremlin is preparing for this opportunity. In 2023, it appointed Dmitry Kochetkov, experienced in the North Caucasus with an operational history against Kadyrov structures, as Chechnya's FSB director. This appointment is no coincidence. The FSB is preparing to step in at the moment of vacuum. But the FSB stepping in won't be easy because Kadyrov has systematically weakened federal security structures' influence in Chechnya for years. He refused to receive training for his own security forces from the FSB and instead provided a private trainer who was a former FSB Alpha unit member. Moscow transfers approximately $6.5 billion to Chechnya annually. This money feeds Kadyrov's personal wealth, Akhmat forces' salaries, and the patronage network. Cutting the money collapses the system, but continuing it finances the new leader's independence. Wagner's shadow still hangs over the Kremlin. The Prigozhin experience showed how a semi-independent paramilitary force can spin out of control. Considering that Kadyrov's 25,000 fighters have much deeper local roots than Wagner, the scale of the risk becomes apparent. In OSW's assessment, if the Kremlin cannot provide a swift and decisive response, unrest in Chechnya may be unavoidable. Groups suppressed by Kadyrov for years are also expected to mobilize in this vacuum. It's not just groups in Chechnya that will mobilize because what happens in Chechnya doesn't stay in Chechnya. The Russian Federation consists of 21 ethnic republics, each with different ethnic origins, languages, and historical grievances. Do you think Chechnya can stay under control after Kadyrov? Share your thoughts in the comments. We will continue to follow these developments. Subscribe for more.